Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, put your feet up. It's time for the Other Three Amigos podcast with Declan McCormack, Wayne Mullins, and Dan.
Three lads, one podcast.
On this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast, we have a new member into TOTAP Towers. We have a look at our ticket pricing ahead of the Galway game. Will Declan land himself a new job filming from the bushes? We chat about our pre-season, how that's going so far. We check in on the B team before heading to the mailbag. And then answer the biggest question of all. Is Cork City the biggest club in Ireland? All of this and more on this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Right, we have some huge breaking news, breaking transfer news. That it is 150 million euros, which is about 97.5 million pounds. Right, the paperwork is now with the club's lawyers, so this is at a very, very advanced stage now. Once it's his medical and sign a 5-year contract, so I guess as soon as it's sorted out with the solicitors, it will be done once again. So just short of 100 million pounds.
I don't know what told me to wait till the very end of that to speak, but anyway.
Oh, he said don't wait till the end.
I thought he did.
Season 5, eh?
Welcome to Season 5, Episode 2, Episode 250 of your multi-award winning podcast, somehow. Dan Casey here, and I'm joined by my other three amigos, Wayne Mullins, Declan McCormack,
Howdy.
and now Chairman Declan Carey. We'll get into the Cork City action in a small bit, but for now, the Beatles, Queen, ABBA, Little Mix, all power groups of 4. So here on the Other Three Amigos podcast, we decided for that 3 to become 4. It will still be the Other Three Amigos, as the rebrand would cost too much. But let's speak to our new signing, Declan. Not McCormack, no, right? Carey, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. Look, there must be some kind of mistake here. My agent, Marcus Demetrius, told me he was dropping me to a podcast, but I don't see Stephen Ryan, I don't see Aaron Hoey, so like, I'm in the wrong place, or what's the story?
Fair play, Deck. Start as you mean to go on anyway.
No, all seriousness, delighted to be here. It's an absolute honour to be at the other side of the microphone anyway. I know you've interviewed me a couple of times, so great to be here. And yeah, congratulations to all you and all your success the last couple of years, first of all. Anyway, hopefully I can, make a positive addition and, stop you from being podium finishers and turn you into winners eventually at some stage. But, delighted to be here, and looking forward to it. Hopefully it'll be a good laugh, and hopefully I can give some valuable insights.
Hopefully, Decky. I mean, how great is it that we now have the Declan Carey as part of our team here in TOTAP Towers?
Dan, we wanted to come back bigger and better, and it was like, who do we get on board? Who has the insight, the knowledge, the experience, the unique perspectives that are needed to give this podcast maybe another level, another layer? And when we couldn't get that person, we decided to ask Deck to see if he was free.
Damien still couldn't come back.
So no, it's great, it's brilliant, it's fantastic. And there's 4 of us here tonight, but we will be rotating in 3s. There's a possibility that down the line somebody else might join us, but we'll touch on that if it ever happens. But for the moment, it will be 3 from 4 on a weekly basis. And hopefully everybody gets a night off once a month or so anyway,
Exciting, isn't it?
When we're counting it out, TOTAP now employs 10 people.
10 people, yeah. 10 people.
Is it 10, is it?
Yeah. Well, I think there's 5 of you on Las Damas, is that right?
Yeah.
This is getting up there, lads, with the number of right backs in 2018 and 2019. to step peeling back a small bit here. This only goes one way, like.
Is there 11? Because isn't Demetrius... what's his name?
Marcel Demetrius.
Isn't he 11?
His name has gone through so many reiterations now at this stage.
Yeah. Oh, God. So are you excited? Dan, are you excited?
I wasn't about 2 weeks ago, and now I'm feeling incredibly excited. Delighted my tweet pissed off the Dubs anyway. And like there was absolutely nothing said in it, but it just seemed to drive the Rovers fans in particular absolutely apeshit. So yeah, delighted for that one. Now I'm feeling confident now after a few signings in the door. I wasn't so confident before we started putting some of those the winning run together. But look, what are we? Three wins from 3 now? I think so anyway. So things are looking on the up. We get a bit of positivity, hopefully, into the pot this year and start winning games.
You do have a bit of a je ne sais quoi for attracting hatred. Then I have to say, like, I follow you as well now on TikTok, and I see your comments when you're reporting on Cork GA. So, Jesus, the fans from the other teams like Limerick and Waterford and Clare and Kilkenny and everything, they're all out. And it's the same with the League of Ireland, the way fans, like, yeah.
Did you see his Instagram during the week? He has a picture of him just doing this, like, and I'm going, you're not helping yourself, like.
Ah, yeah, in a rainy Parky Queeve is a brilliant photo, yeah. Brilliant result as well. Fergie time, like, for Decky and Wayne, like, yeah, Fergie time Cork got a point to scrape a draw.
Well, the other two boys can head away. We'll chat about Cork Hurling.
A bit of HR here now for this GA chat.
No, let's nip it in the bud now because this shit started last year. Like, and we got Dan. I don't know what you like. We actually got complaints from people going, "Shut up about Cork GA. It's not a hurling podcast. It's the soccer podcast. Leave it out, like, you know." So, let's lay down the law early, to the two boys. Scott,
all right. Let's get straight into a bit of Commie watch, lads, and let's get this ball rolling into 2025.
Commie Watch with Ivan Draco on the Other Three Amigos podcast.
I guess a huge talking point amongst fans as we're getting a lot of DMs and things about it, the ticket pricing structure ahead of our opening day clash with Galway. It was released probably a lot on what we knew already. They're on the €25 online. Already knew that. We didn't talk about it on the Xmas pod, I don't think so much. So, Decky, should City be charging €25 per adult ticket into the Cross?
Like, they can charge what they like. That's the bottom line, Dan. I don't agree. I think it's obviously it's expensive. It's the most expensive ticket in the country. Obviously it's not the most expensive ticket in the league, but it is the most expensive ticket in the country. And I just piss off all the boys up north, straight out the door. So look, it is what it is. The thing about it is the one that, like, okay, like it's this drive. Like I don't want to. Like, we're just in them stumbling now already because we wanted to come back and spend the season talking about football. We didn't want to spend the time talking about off-field stuff because, it inevitably ends up with criticizing the club, and then people don't like it and people get tick about it and everything else. But like, you're a newly promoted side. It was 15 quid last year if you bought online. It's gone up a tenner this year. It's 25 quid. Okay, Shawnee was bought, Keats was bought, there was players added to the squad. We understand all that. It's this drive, this self-sustainability thing whereby it appears the ownership group believe that eventually, and 3 seasons was the timeline that was given, this is season 3, that after this season, the ownership group won't have to put in any money and that the thing will pay for itself. And there isn't a club in world football that works that it works that way. Ownership groups up and down the world have to put money year on year into their football clubs. It's what drives fans mad. It's what leads anti-board protests. And I mean, Brian Lennox used to get it in the neck. Obviously, there was all the Tommy Bob's problems. Arcaga went the other way and absolutely screwed themselves. Forest were Forest, and look, Deck obviously has unique insights into that, but Forest couldn't be self-sustainable, and that's why we passed it off. And then we've passed it off to people who talk non-stop about self-sustainability. And I just don't see how it's doable. I would love for it to be doable. I would love for it to be a good plan of action. I just don't believe it is. And like 25 quid, the one that gets me is the 18 quid, Dan, for 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 13s and under is a tenner. It's 18 quid if you have a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old with you. So say 2 parents decide to take the 15 and 16-year-old to the game with them. It's 86 quid for the four of you to go to the game. You talk about sustainability. That's not sustainable for families. That is not sustainable. So we want to be self-sustainable, but like just give and take, and like there's no family going to pay 86 quid for four of them to go to a League of Ireland match. It's just not going to happen. And long term, it's going to do more damage to us than it will do good. That's my feeling on it. The club had said about the 5 game tickets, and then they launched it this week. Last week, or Monday night, it was last week. And it's completely different to what was advertised initially by Dermot on his own pod. The pod where you get all the truth about what's happening in Cork City. The pod where, this is what's really happening in Cork City. And what Dermot said on that podcast was different to what was eventually put out in terms of the tickets. So whatever about the 25 quid, and I don't agree with it, but if you're working and everything else, 25 quid is maybe affordable, depending on your personal circumstances. 18 quid for teenagers, Dan, it's a scandal. It's genuinely a scandal and like people are defending it and everybody's entitled to their opinion. My opinion is that charging a 15-year-old 18 quid to go into Turner's Cross is a scandal. And you turn them away because the parents won't pay for it or they can't afford to pay for it themselves. And you lose maybe 20 years of Cork City support, because that's the time where you really learn to love the club. That's when you really learn to buy into things, because you go into the shed and you get a little bit of independence and, you sing your songs and you do your chanting and you learn how to become a City supporter. And if people can't afford to do it, they don't learn how to become City supporters. They never become City supporters. And your drive for self-sustainability dies because you've cut its own neck with your pricing. That's my take on it.
This is where a bit of insight might come in handy. Declan, can you talk us through a bit about ticket pricing at a football club? Is there a reasoning why do you think it'll be 25 quid?
It's like, I probably have my own theory around why it's 25 this season. Look, to be honest, I'll be honest there as well, and even when I was involved in setting the ticket prices, it's probably been too low for too long, and that's why all of a sudden now this sudden jump seems like such a bullet in the chest. It's just that I agree with Decky to some extent. I think it's too high too soon, but I think the time to raise the prices steadily was a couple of years ago. Like, rise with the inflation that we saw all across the country and across Europe and whatnot. Like, the sudden spike now is look, it's harsh, and I know the club did efforts to put out a valuable season ticket in terms of like giving value back to people that were renewing and things like that. But ultimately, I think overall comms and strategy with pricing, whether it be season tickets or match tickets, is far too complicated. Like, even our announcements about tickets and things, there you go on the page, there's about 50 different numbers thrown at you. Like, when people just want, you have to weed through it, you have to figure out what's going on, and then you're trying to do these calculations, comparing it year on year, and things aren't the same year on year. There's early bird tickets, there's like buy online, don't buy online tickets, ticket prices for walking up to the huts. I think it just needs, this was the year for me, I think, to just simplify it and potentially solidify our place in the Premier Division, and then maybe have another progressive increase next year when people could see the progression of the club. I think jumping from the First Division to the Premier and the sharp increases we've seen in individual ticket prices is just too much. The one for me, as Deck said, I know he mentioned the juvenile one. The one that hits home to me a bit harshly, I think, is the senior citizen ticket. Like, that's bucketed in the same now as the juvenile ticket. It's €18, and I again just think that's too high again. You're talking there, Deck, as you said, a grandfather and his grandson, like 70 years old, and a 15-year-old like going to the game, and it's like 36 quid. It just seems high. And me personally, like, I've got into City from looking at, and listening to some of the older fans, so to speak, telling me stories of the days of Cork, Celtic and Hibs and all that, and the great days. And that's what I always said, I'd love to be a supporter of Cork City and experience days like that myself. And that's what got me into it, really, like listening to my dad and some of the older fans that I spoke to at games who were senior citizen season ticket holders mostly. And I think they served their time, and they're the ones that paved the way for all of us. So, like, I think that's the one that really hits me, especially even from a season ticket perspective for them as well. Like, they're as well going to pick and choose their games as well, because scheduling for them and travel might be difficult and weather and things like that. That's the one for me. But overall, across the board, I think it was just too harsh too soon.
You're probably right in saying it was too harsh too soon, but why is it Cork City, just the newly promoted club? I think that's the real kicker as well. If you matched Rovers, if you matched Bows, I don't think people really have a problem with it. It's the fact we've gone so expensive now. You mentioned you had your own theory there. What is that theory? Is it just the Keaton and Maguire thing, or is there more to it, do you think?
Yeah, look, I think there's the potential too for PTSD somewhat from maybe our last time in the Premier Division, where if things don't go well in the first couple of games, we know what will happen. The crowds will drop off, and there's maybe a theory that keeping the prices high for those that we all know here, there's people that are going to show up at the Cross every week no matter what, and they're going to pay the money and they don't care, and it's just a religion for them to. And I just feel that's one potential theory on it, and the other one is potentially the costs in running the club are higher than maybe what was anticipated 2 years ago, and maybe that trajectory of costs has spiked a bit too high compared to what was forecasted back in late 2022, 2023. So I think that's the other theory I have, and ultimately as well, Decky, you've referenced it in the podcast there, the last few episodes last season, like the wage inflation across the league, and I think there's a bit of naivety at times as well in what it takes to get a player down to Cork who's not from Cork and attract them to the city and play. Look, there's certainly solutions to the accommodation stuff, and I'm not going to go into that in too much detail. And the club does have houses where puts up players, and but I just think it just costs a lot more than was envisaged at this time of the at this time for the club, and completely took the club by surprise. I would expect over the last 18 months, particularly about what costs are involved. And yeah.
Wayne, do you think it's all for something that in theory is simple enough? Do you think it's a bit messy? The tickets at Cork City. We still don't know what the walk-up price is going to be. What, 10 days away from new start of the season?
It's the communication is the problem. Like 25 quid, I get why he's charging it. It's just a 66% increase is a bit much. But if I was 20, 21 in college, could I be affording €25 every second week? Certainly not 2 weeks in a row. I probably couldn't. No, I can. It's fine. But my issue is the €10 child ticket. You're charging 10 quid for a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old into the ground. That's madness, Plus you got the 25 quid from me, the £5 on sweets or chips. It's just too much. And I always bring up my little fella, poor fella's an Ipswich fan, God love him. I can't put Cork City on him too, and I wouldn't mind bringing him for a £5. It's grand. He goes in. We left at half time 3 times last year. He came to a game, and we left at half time because he just got a bit bored. He's only 6, But I'm not going to bring him for a tenner and then me 25 quid added on. Do I want to put him through it? Probably not. I just think it's hard. If you have a father and 2 kids, already it's massive amount of money for people, families. I just think that hitting the kids and the OAPs is just not right, because I think this Cork City era is more about the short term than long term. And yes, we may do well this year or next year, but if we start losing games after 3 or 4 games, as Declan said, the crowds are going to go down. They do have the first 2 or 3 weeks. I think is going to be 4,000 or 5,000, not a problem. Lose a few games and we're in serious trouble, and that's what worries me. I'm not having to go off anyone in particular or anyone at the club, but I just think you need the future is what you have to plan for the future. And bringing kids in who are 6, 7, 8, up to even 12, 13, that's the future of Cork City.
Just slightly corrected there, Wayne, in terms of lose a few games and the crowds drop, we're in serious trouble. Not necessarily. Maybe under the Forest regime where there was a limited pot and we had weekly meetings or nightly sometimes trying to make sure we had enough money the following week to pay the wages. I don't think we're in that situation, to be fair.
I don't mean trouble. I mean we're in trouble regarding crowd size, and people are like, oh shit, what do we do now? Do you know?
Yeah,
that's what, obviously
it will cause it.
Basically.
Yeah. But look, for me, I think one thing that we always wanted to try and do something we couldn't because money was so tight again. The only supplementary income we had was the annual Forest membership fees, and that was minuscule in the grand scheme of things. When you're talking about 2 to 3 million turnover, but it absolutely pains me to say it, but Shamrock. See, I'm getting a Shamrock strategy a couple of years ago when they were in the doldrums there. When we were taking the piss out of them with Bradley's first couple of years, and they were on the brink of possibly making changes there or whatever. They were given two adults season tickets with 2 free kids, or there was multiple free kids tickets, and everyone was just looking at it going, geez, they're bonkers. But I think it was kids who were under 7 or under 8, and then if it was over that, there was a price increase. And it looked like they had a strategy, to be fair, across a number of levels at the club, and it's bearing its fruits now. Look at the crowds they're getting for games, and look, their European success matches it in their production of academy players and the facilities and everything else. And that's not the only reason, no, to be fair, just because they gave a family season ticket and threw in the kids for free. But those kids now, back in 2015, 2016, they're the teenagers now, diehard Rovers fans, and going to games every 2 weeks. And it doesn't take long to turn them into paying customers, sadly, is the word. And that seems to be floated about a lot in the last couple of weeks. But I'd like to have seen some kind of strategy around that, to be honest, especially now out of the first division. It does look like we've gone into a period now where we can solidify, especially with Shawnee and Keats and a few strong signings. It's definitely not, I wouldn't have the pessimism as we had maybe in 2023, but yeah, I would have loved to seen some kind of strategy towards that, as in a 5 to 10 year outlook on things, rather than oh crap, there's a housing crisis in Cork, there's a rent increases, there's salary wage inflation. I would have liked to just seen a more strategic look at it, but look, it is what it is. I don't make those calls anymore, thankfully.
Wayne, as Decky kind of already mentioned, the 5 match pack, we were originally told on the podcast, and it seemed like a fantastic idea. I was certainly living up in Dublin, it was going to be so handy for me. You get your 5 games, whatever, so I'd either get 1 match pack or get 2, but at least I'd have an option that it would be any 5 games. No, people are just confined to the first 5. That just seems like such a brilliant idea, and it should have initially gone sour. Do you have any thoughts on that one? And that seems to be catching a bit of ire in certain sections of fan base at the moment.
Do we know for sure that's what was said, though?
If you allow me, so Dermot Usher was on the Rebel Army podcast, episode 34, on the 15th of November 2024, where he said some people don't buy a season ticket because they just know they're not going to get to enough games. So what we're going to do is introduce a 5-match pass, where in the case of an adult ticket, it'll be €100 for a 5-match pass. You pay €100, you get credit for 5 games. You get a code. And then you go in and buy the ticket for whatever game you want to go and see. That was what was said on the Rebel Army podcast. What has transpired is that the 5-match pack is for the first 5 home games, which is obviously a massive change in comparison to what Dermot said. I'm guessing it was changed because Dermot said that in the podcast, and then the season tickets went on sale. And as part of Forest meeting, where David Cronin said there was X number of season tickets sold and they need to sell more. So therefore, I'm guessing that's directly related to the change in the 5-game pack. It makes perfect sense. Again, it's probably communication and the fact that actually Dermot went too early on the podcast in November and said what he said about the 5-game pass, and that stopped people buying season tickets and set an expectation because of what was said about how the 5-game pass would work. And now the goalposts have been completely moved on that pass and people are kicking up and giving out. I think they should have released the season tickets first, and then only after they released the season tickets, only then mention the 5-game pass. But they would also be criticised for that, to be fair, as well. So there is an element of no win in it as well, to be fair.
I'll be honest, when I heard that 5-game pass option, I assumed as well it would be for 5 select games that the club would force upon you to some extent, that you couldn't pick, because otherwise it wouldn't make business sense really to push towards season tickets or match by match tickets. I would have, because otherwise, you get folks that might only go to 10 games a year and then they'll buy 2 of those and
yeah,
happy days for them. Like, it didn't make business sense for me. But again, as you said, and I think this goes back to my previous point, the communication and the messaging around tickets is every year is just feels haphazard and confusing.
Yeah.
And there's so many different numbers, so many different options. Like, you go on the website today to buy tickets for the Galway game, and you've got all the different variations of tickets for home fans. Then you've got a duplicate of tickets displayed for away fans. Then there's the family ticket, which is, that's positive to see. Like, it's 60 quid for 2 adults, 2 kids. Looks to bring the cost down a little bit for family of 4. But again, I just don't understand why it has to be so complicated. It's almost like we're in such a defensive mentality when it comes to tickets and pricing and all of that. And like, when we put out the announcement about tickets, it just comes across so defensive from a marketing perspective. It has all these calculations and decimal points and price per game and percentage reduction year on year. And we're going to do a 5-game pass, as you said, and it confuses everyone. And as you said, it seems like more confusion now around, like, I thought it was pick and choose, or I thought it was, 5 games. But again, yeah, I just hopefully for 2026, it's my bugbear. A few of my buddies and lads in the last 3 years have blew in the face for me complaining about our comms on tickets, and in general, it just drives me nuts all the time. It's like, it's too complicated.
Do we have any word on the corner flag as well for this season? I mean, I went on the Silly website earlier. There's the option to click into the corner flag hospitality, but you click in error 404, page not found. So I assume that that's not happening this year.
Well, the corner flag have advertised their own tickets this year, and saying contact them about availability for the Galway game. And that last season, those tickets were sold through Cork City, because Cork City had taken ownership in effect of that area. So to me, my reading of the situation is that the club haven't done a deal with the corner flag for this year, and it has just returned to the corner flag to sell their own tickets on their own deals for that area, for that section.
Okay, before we wrap up our half an hour rant about ticket
tickets,
pricing,
yeah. I was just thinking the same.
Does anybody have anything else to add?
Just reduce the price for kids. Do the right thing.
I can't see it changing at this stage.
No,
next
it's not
season,
going to change.
even for next season, just charge a $5, get a load of kids in there, and do you know what? Just do the right thing.
I think there's even a slimmer chance of a change in next season, to be honest. There's more chance of a change in before the Galway game than there is next year. Especially if we stay up and all is fine, and we solidify our place in the division, it'll be at best equal. That's my prediction.
I would think the chances are slim of it being the same price now. But look, that's 12 months away, so we won't worry about that now.
Dickie, you're not looking to change jobs anytime soon, are you? Because City have advertised an open position of a videographer. So you can actually film with their permission from the bushes and get paid to do it.
Oh, my word.
For my family that are listening to this, that's Declan McCormack who has the filming from the bushes reputation, not me. So,
yeah, I could imagine, unless the interviews for that job, formal interviews for that job, were being done on footpaths outside of buildings, Dan, I wouldn't be in the reckoning for that gig.
City till I die laughing. Anyone here go to that gig in the Everyman?
No. Move on, I'd say.
All right.
Do you know what? No, I'm going to make a point here. No, I've decided to be all positive this year. They are good ideas. They really are. They just got the timing wrong again, and they did it too quick. Less is more.
I think it was too soon after the last one. The first one, by all accounts, I was actually hoping to make it, and I couldn't in the end, the family stuff. But it looked well attended and went down well, and gave great hope for the future for those type of events. And I agree with you. Like, it's just I think it was too much too soon, and there was question marks on some of the comedians, quote unquote, that were performing as well on the night. I saw a bit of negativity. And it wasn't just minuscule; it was from a number of voices. The voices on social media can be a bit of a, empty vessel at times. But this was a bit more than that, I thought. And I just, again, I think nicely brush that one under the carpet. Now learn from it and move on. And try and do it again and learn from the previous events would be my hope for that.
He's on about Eric Lawler in the Bows shirt, everybody. To City's pre-season,
Good save.
the last 3 games, a 6-3 win against the original Rovers, Sligo Rovers, a 2-1 win against Motherwell, and a 2-0 win against Carrigaline. Decky, well, speaking of bushes again, have you been in them lately watching City play, and what do you make of our pre-season so far?
I went to the Waterford game, Dan, which you failed to mention, which they won 3-1 in Bishopstown last Saturday week. I was impressed, I'll be honest with you, that Waterford game. I don't know, was it that we were very good? Waterford were very poor? It's probably a bit of both, to be fair. I'm always somebody who we've said every year since doing this podcast, I understand it's pre-season and people, it means nothing. It's just about minutes. If I hear that phrase, minutes in the tank or minutes in the legs once more, I'm going to explode. We understand that. But I've always said I like to see a team building momentum from pre-season. I think teams who play well in pre-season start seasons well. I've no data to back that up. It's just always a feeling I've had, and I think we've had a very good pre-season to this point. We've won games, we've scored goals, we've played well, and I think that's much better. I know I'll say it again, it's only pre-season, but it's much better than not scoring goals and losing games and having no momentum and those things. So look, I thought we were impressive against Waterford. I thought Waterford looked absolutely desperate. I don't know, is that the way they're going to look in the season to come? People said Sligo looked really poor on Saturday, but Sligo still scored 3 goals. Now, we got 6. That would worry me that we gave up 3 goals to Sligo. Again, I know it's only pre-season, but, there's good and bad. I think we probably leave the Galway stuff and team formations and starting 11s and that until next week's pod where we'll be looking at the Galway game. But, I would have some concerns still. We added another signing today. Pearson, is it? I should be better educated. But again, 19, touching John Caulfield's thing about hasn't played men's football. When you look at the age profile of our squad, all of a sudden, it's very young. It is very young. It's a touch of inexperience about it. There's inexperience in key areas, which is obviously goalkeeping, centre back, and for me, right back is a massive issue. Massive. That side of the pitch is a massive issue because you have to play Cahill now from the right. I mean, playing Cahill from the left should now be a sackable offence because everything Cahill does is down the right, cutting in on his left foot like he did in Wexford, like he did in the Cross a couple of times last year, and slapping balls into the top corner. He did it against Waterford, and it was magnificent. You saw the highlights from the Sligo game last night. He did the same thing again. It ended up, his shot was blocked, Benny Couto followed it up, scored. So Cahill coming down the right, cutting in from it. But when Cahill wants to go forward, you only have Darragh Crowley behind him. We've been playing with 2 up front and only 2 in central midfield all the way through pre-season. So I worry about the shape and the structure of the side, especially if we're going to go what looks like we've played 4-4-2 all through the season. I think if you're playing 4-4-2, you don't have a sitting midfielder. If you don't have a sitting midfielder, you have nobody who can slide out right and give that layer of protection to Darragh Crowley when Cahill has gone on. And I think good teams will exploit that massively for me. But we'll see if that's the way we do set up in the season. But we've played so many preseason games in 4-4-2 now, it would be mad to think that we're not going to set up that way. Shamrock Rovers away is the second game in the season. They're going to have 3 in the centre of midfield. Are we really going to go up there with only 2? It's really, really hard to see that. So I would actually like to see for the last few preseason games, I'd like to see a change of shape in preseason and just maybe see him, even if it was 3-5-2 or, 4-3, whatever he wants to do, but have that 3 central midfielders in there to give us that option. And as I said, I think if we're in a 4-4-2, we're going to have massive problems on the right-hand side of the pitch. All right.
Do you, do you not think that we'll have two sitting midfielders and the two boys out wide will cut inside all the time? So we'd be kind of like a narrow 4-2-2-2. Like Dykesty cuts in, Carl cuts in.
That's almost a 4-2-4 then. Which is fine, but if you have two central sitting midfielders, who are they going to be? Like, Greg was brilliant. Bolger was the best player on the pitch against Waterford. Sean Murray came on and actually played up front in the second half. So there was a few things being looked at, I guess, and tried out and whatnot. Look, let's not get bogged down and it's only pre-season, but yeah, I have worries about the legs in the centre of the park. Shipson looks good. He looks like a guy who'll pick up a few yellow cards. He's not afraid to leave a leg in. I like that in a player. I think guys need to stand up and be counted, and but I could see him being on first name terms with referees pretty quickly.
Troost, after the Bows game, I'm sure we all see the clips, not off to a great start, but Declan, have you seen any of the pre-season games? How do you think he got on?
Yeah, I obviously I saw the highlights from the Waterford game, and I've seen subsequent games. Look, I think I read that he was carrying a knock as well, maybe coming in and was trying to shake that off over a couple of games. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Again, having the pre-season games in Bishopstown as well, it's not ideal match conditions, to be honest, for a senior men's 11v11, I feel. But look, it's all that's available to us, maybe at different times. But yeah, I'd say let's see how he gets on in a real raucous occasion now against Galway in a first Premier Division game. I think he'll live up to the occasion given his experience with his previous clubs. I think like that won't phase him, and he's seen crowds of that, the bigger size, of course. But yeah, I think let's wait and see. I wouldn't read too much into the performance against Waterford. I know he had better performances in later games and saved the pen at one stage. So look, overall, I think let's wait and see. I'd be quietly confident that he'll be a solid goalie for the best part of the season. So yeah, let's wait and see. The only real bugbear I have of pre-season again is like this away trip to Motherwell that came out of surprise until after the game was played. Like, I just can't understand this logic of these secret pre-season friendlies, especially against high-profile teams. Like, why did we not take the opportunity to at least publicise this? The same thing happened there back in, I think it was pre-season 2018. We played a top secret friendly against Manchester City. Some of the board members didn't even know that the match was being played, and we didn't find out till afterwards. It was just, I don't understand what this, like, I don't know, is it paranoia or nervousness or afraid that we'll get absolutely hammered or something like that. But at the end, I actually got texts from friends of mine who'd be non-League of Ireland fans after we beat Motherwell. And like, geez, Cork City were playing Motherwell and won, and what a great result. And all of a sudden it gives us this like nice little boost to the non-Cork City faithful. And I just can't understand why they didn't publicise it. And it's a top secret training camp away. Like, what do they think is going to happen? Like, do they think that it's going to be infiltrated and like there's going to be, aside from Decky now with his camera, but like, it just, this is League of Ireland at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This isn't like Bielsa, they're back with like Frank Lampard's Derby County back in the day, like spying and like I don't know. Like, I just think it's all a bit much for what level we're at here. Like, I don't know, but I'm just drawing conclusions from this again, because back when I experienced it firsthand, it seemed to be total paranoia from my perspective, in my opinion. But that was 7 years ago now, and it just looks like I was a bit disappointed when I saw that. I was like, geez, we're playing Motherwell today, and then afterwards we beat them, and it's like, oh, and we won, but no one knew it was happening, and it was all locked down, top secret. Like, I just don't understand this.
So, someone sent me, I don't know who it was, a WhatsApp during the week, and Tim Clancy, when he was at Pats, had played Motherwell away at Fir Park, and it was announced on the Pats website. So that suggests to me it's not something that the manager would say, look, behind closed doors, say nothing. It's a strange one, because it's something you should advertise.
Yeah.
And even if we lost 3 or 4-0, it's Motherwell. People are going to get, okay, Motherwell, they're in the middle of their season. We're in pre-season. We shouldn't be beating them.
Yeah, and it can't be a thing about trialists either, because we played games in Bishopstown with trialists, and people could see them and take photos and do whatever and find them on Google searches and whatever. Like, that day is gone. Like Dan should know better than anyone. I think you can't walk down the street these days and someone has a phone and they'll grab something and it'll be on TikTok and it'll be on Instagram and someone will tweet it and there'll be DMs sent and there'll be this and that. Like, it's a different time now, and I think we just need to shake that off. Like, and it's just a strange one. I hadn't seen it much now over the last like 6 or 7 years, but since that Man City debacle that time, like, that was just complete shambles. I didn't read that in the book, funnily enough, but like, look, it reared its head now again. It felt like it just gave me a bit of a sour taste again. It's like, oh God, we back to this now again, like these secret friendlies away against high profile teams. No, I know Motherwell aren't high profile, like they're a household name for anyone who's interested in football/soccer. Why do we not publicise it? I don't know.
Wayne, how confident are you in the back of our pre-season so far?
I saw the post game, and you know me, I have a horn for an old Benny Lux goalkeeper, and I was a little bit worried when I saw him. But do you know what? I think he'll come good. You don't get into an Eredivisie squad unless you're half decent. You don't, like.
Well, we said that about Toby, to be fair. Was it the England under-19 keeper?
He had an injury, though. This is what worries me. Truth, if he's an injury, why are we playing him? You know, let's not make it worse. I liked the look of Couto, left back. I thought he was very good. Again, Bo was kind of destroyed, but it was our first game, so I wouldn't get too worried about it. I'm optimistic. I think we should aim for Europe. I've always said it. People think I'm mad. But this whole finishing 8th, 9th, rubbish, not having it. Like, the young players like Anderson, it does worry me, 18, 19. You don't win things with kids, like, as Alan Hansen once said, but I think we've got a decent squad, but we don't know what these players are like. So mine's based on one game, and I watched the Carrigaline game on the phone. Other than that, we see what happens.
I'm going to take the optimistic route as well, Wayne, to be honest. Like, the way I'm trying to look at this is it's a bit like the, you know, Georgie and Flinney's first season with Dan Murray and all these other unknowns. And it's like, you know, who are these young guys coming in? You know, but we know then that we've got these two superstars basically as well to fall back on, like, and having one of those on the team can win a game for you or scrape a point. Having two of them, if they can both stay fit. So I'm staying quietly optimistic, like yourself. I don't think we'll be down battling with like the worst teams in the league. I think we'll cause a few upsets just with the firepower that we have, especially, and some of the experienced heads like Greg Balderno and Murray. And like, I think we'll actually cause a few upsets along the way. Will we qualify for Europe via the league positions? I'm not so sure. I think those positions are solidified by teams that have much stronger resources we have in terms of squad depth and players, but I still don't think we'll be languishing, and I'm hopeful for a positive season. Like, especially now that I'm going to be on this podcast talking about it most weeks. Like, Jesus, I can't.
The only worry though is if we're doing well, say we're 4th or 5th or 6th in the league by summer, 2 or 3 of these lads go home. Do we bring 2 or 3 more in? Like, that's the only worry that I have, and I'm thinking. But look, as I said, I'd rather get these lads over from abroad, try them out. Every other country in the world is doing it. Ireland seems to be the only country that stayed in the dark ages of just rotating Irish players over and over. And we're unique that we're only one of 2 or 3 countries in Europe that have no league registration rules for foreigners. It's the Bundesliga in Germany, League 2, or second, and ourselves. And there's one more, I think. Every other country, you can only have like 5 or 6 of them or 10 of them from outside the EU.
Homegrown players, etc.
Exactly. So we'll just go for it and see what happens. And I just hope that I trust Tim Clancy 100%. I think he's the man for the job. He knows what he's doing. And none of this going in, let's finish 8th or 9th. Look what happened before. I think he says levels. Let's have our levels high and go for it. Aim for it and just go against Galway and go and win the game.
But as you said there, Wayne, like there's players now due to leave in the summer. We know they're gone. We might convince them to stay, or their clubs, we might convince our clubs to leave them stay. But we know now it's a good 5 months away. So how do you not plan and prepare for such a scenario? I'll just leave it at that. And I look, Tim Clancy, it seems like a sensible guy. I've only ever talked to him once more than Decky, I think, from what I heard on the pod last year. But yeah, seems like a sensible guy. And like,
what does Tim say, Decky? You're talking to him all the time, aren't you?
Who's impressed you most, Decky? What player has impressed you most?
Can I just start out the season again by saying once and for all, I have never in my life spoken a word to Tim Clancy. Who impressed me, Dan? I tell you who impressed me. The day against Waterford was Harvey Skeeters. He impressed me. He was dropping short. He was always involved. He was either on the turn, he was drawing a foul, he was laying it off. He was just involved in the game, which is a great thing for a young player, you know. I actually, speaking of Tim Clancy, I have a bone to pick with Tim Clancy, actually, because he said at the Forest meeting, he was asked the same question. And he said, nobody's talking about Matty Kiernan. Nobody gives Matty Kiernan a mention. I was like, Tim, come on, man. It's clear you don't listen to the podcast, because if you did, you'd know Decky gives Matty Kiernan a mention and gave him a big mention at the end of last year, who I was more than happy to play him, start him at left back this year. But Matty Kiernan had a good game that day. Look, lads, there's potential there, but it's potential, and they're young players coming in. You know, Anderson is 18. He's going to start, more than likely. You'd imagine it's himself and Charlie Lyons. First game, Galway at home. You know, we all know what Johnny C is going to do. It's what he always does. But this time he's going to say, right, you've got an inexperienced keeper and you've got an 18-year-old centre back in front of him. You've got a left back who's starting his first game for the club, and you've got a player on the right, and Dara Crowley, who may or may not be a Premier Division right back. Let's just get after him. Stephen Walsh will most likely start, and he'll play 65 to 70 minutes, and he'll jump with his elbows out every single time, and he'll step on fella's toes, and he'll do all the things that these wily old centre forwards do, and he'll test that 18-year-old Anderson like he's never been tested before. You know? And it'll be direct balls, it'll be high balls, it'll be playing off second balls, playing off knockdowns, all those things. And it will be a very big test for young players on opening night in what will be a busy Turner's Cross. You know, there's no fear there won't be 4,000 people in Turner's Cross for the Galway game, irrespective of ticket pricing, because a lot of people won't be aware of the ticket pricing before they walk up and get there. You know, which is another issue. But anyway, we did all that while ago, so like, it's going to be interesting. I know Tim Clancy is buzzing. He thinks he has a squad that will do very well. Decky's mentioned there's Keats and Shawnee up top. You'd have no worries there. I'd have a worry about how the side is going to be structured, but look, we'll look at that next week. Cautiously optimistic, but you're relying on young players to be good players and to deal with what they need to deal with stepping into men's football. And, you know, that's an ask for those players, and it might take some of them some bit of time to get used to it, you know. So it's as Scotty said, we don't know the players, so it's very, very hard. We could be brilliant or we could be awful. Nobody knows.
All right. But my feeling with the deck is, our three key players, maybe four, Craig Bolger, just has to absolutely be on his game against Galway in that opening night, because we have to get a positive result, as we've alluded to. Like, I don't think there's a better man, to be honest, to put the pressure on his shoulders. And to counter your point about Stephen Walsh, like, I don't think the Galway team have come up against a duo like Maguire and Keats either in a defensive match from their perspective. And there is is it a fair statement to say it's a bit of a question mark, Colin O'Sullivan coming up to the Premier, playing against possibly more physical players and experienced players? Like, I'd question whether the Galway fullbacks have seen anything like him either in a proper game now outside of a friendly. Like, I liken that fella's mentality. I know this is a terrible comparison now, because some people say it's not even a sport, to Luke Littler in terms of like pressure and just being such a young age and being able to step up to the occasion time and time again. Even after he got all the social media highlights and went viral last year with all his goals and everything else, he still comes out and performs. And I think he'll rise to the occasion again this season, and he'll improve again. Like, that guy is absolutely phenomenal player. The biggest worry about him is he's turning 18 in March.
He's gone in the summer. Tim has mentioned that 2 or 3 times already. But
look, I think, as you said, the importance of the first 5 games of the season are crucial. It's like, you know, if we can keep that solid 11 with a few guys coming in when needed, and Greg Bolger, keep him fit and healthy and playing every game as much as he possibly can. And I think we'll be in good shape.
Just one last thing on Cahill. The biggest thing Cahill needs this year is the middle of the pitch to protect him, right? Because he's going to need protecting. Because we saw the Sligo go, like 2 Sligo players tried to take him out, and he skipped both tackles, but they both went to take him out. And that's going to happen time and time again. And some of these guys, as Decky has said already, will take him out, and they will try to hurt him, and they will try to slow him down. And like after the goal, Greg Bolger went to the referee, and you talk about Greg and his influence and whatnot. Cahill skipped over 2 tackles, but Greg still went to the referee and said, "Hey, did you see that? What the hell is going on here?" Like, they should be booked. I know it's a preseason game, but it's a booking for intent and all those things, and that's what I mean. Like, these guys are going to have to protect Cahill, and I don't trust them to do so. That's another thing. Like, I just don't trust them to do so.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. That concludes the end of first.
Love Island starts in half an hour.
That concludes the end of the first half. TOTAP. Stay with us in the second half as we be.
I just couldn't watch it this year or last year. The absolute same shit. There's people on the Love Island All Stars now that were on it 6 months ago.
Absolutely.
And they're
Lads,
Maya Jama walks
lads,
in on disco night, and they're all sitting there with their shocked face. Oh,
we have the Cork Hurling pod, we have the 2 Deckies, and we have the Love Island pod all in one. So, right, we're parking it there. Stay with us. We'll be back in the second half with a brand new segment as well as the mailbag.
Hey, toe tapper. As you know, everything is increasing in price. Extra small clothes, anger management classes, raw liver is the same price as gold. And kids' sweets used to have 20 per pack and now only have 5 in each one. And Jack Doherty is on course to score 100 goals. And he's going to bleed us dry. We need you to help the gang by joining our Patreon for exclusive pods, news and much more. For a £5 a month, you can ensure that Wayne doesn't smash up his laptop, that Dan has really small clothes, Eileen is satisfied, and Declan gets lots and lots of jellies. Head to patreon.com/TOTAP to support the cause.
Welcome back to part 2 TOTAP. As promised, it is now time for a new segment here. We're changing things up, keeping an eye on our friends down in Queenstown.
I hit the wrong button.
We had this big thing hyped to be like, Decky,
Okay.
hit that one now.
No, I know they have been bought, but like, I don't know. It's very hard.
Editing helps. Editing helps.
In 2025, a little team in Queenstown needed some players to try and keep up with their bigger local rivals. The manager promptly looked for Cork City's leftovers to impress the fans. Today, Cove Ramblers still aren't impressive and have spent a fortune. And if you have a player and no one will take him and he is off First Division standard, maybe he can join the B team.
That is the B team. Before we drag the arse out of this, Decky, what do you make of Queenstown's pre-season so far?
Well, in spite of that promo or whatever it is you want to call it, and just before everybody gets insulted by that now, this is the shit we do. I'll be in Cove on Friday night with my microphone and just be told, fuck off. So we'll just have to see what happens, but that's just a TOTAP thing. Look, they've put together a very good squad. I had the pleasure to speak to Mick McDermott for a few minutes one day. Nice guy. Knows that they have to be, not that they have to be promoted, but knows that's the goal. It's probably between themselves and Dundalk with a little bit of Athlone maybe thrown in there. Be interesting to see how they go, but I mean, like, okay, we're doing the B team there, and like, there's a whole generation of listeners to this now have no idea what else. But lads, there was a program in the 80s called the A Team. It was, go back and look it up on YouTube. That's the intro from the A Team, right? So they have investment. They needed to put together a side. It would absolutely be bam shit crazy if they didn't look at players from Cork City who got Cork City promoted last year who had been released. I mean, it's the absolute natural thing to do. They had to do it. They did do it. They've executed well, and like the Jack Doherty injury is a killer for them. because I think it leaves them short up top. But look, best of luck to them. We'll keep an eye. We'll try and get down there a few nights this year. And if somebody will talk to me, I gladly talk to them, But look, I think they have a very, very, very good first division squad. Like Shane Griffin went down there. The two Shane Griffins went down there too. Shane Griffin, ex-Bray Wonder, is a very, very good first division player. And obviously Shane Griffin, who was supposedly coming to us for a while, whether he ever was or wasn't. I don't think he was, to be fair. To Tim Clancy, I don't think he had any interest in him. And it's my understanding, Shane's gone down there. He will be a very, very good first division player. Obviously, Keane Coleman's gone down there. Bagsy's gone down there. Barry Coffey, Cian Murphy. It's a very good first division squad, and one I think they will fancy will win it.
Wayne Mullins.
Yeah, like the way Mick McDermott was like obviously second choice to Con Healy as manager, right? Do you think if he doesn't get to a good start, he's under pressure already? So what I'm saying is Mick McDermott under pressure is what I'm asking.
You can do it this year. You can do it this year.
Yeah. Like it's an interesting one because the Colin Healy thing is just kind of hanging there now, isn't it?
But this guy was a coach in Iran, Colombia, Qatar. I won't be saying shit about him. Let's be honest.
We were probably a year too early with the under pressure one, all right, for Gary Hunt last year, but
he has more dodgier friends from the Mahon area when Paul Deasy down there as well. Like, so
all right, lads, it is time to hear what the TOTAPers have to say. It is time for the mailbag.
Почтальон Пэт. Почтальон и черно-белый кот. Только день начнется, Пэт с утра проснется, горожанам письма повезет. Почтальон.
All right, enough.
Ian Crowley says, how will Decky cope this season without the presence of Boring Keane?
Fine, I'd imagine. I don't know. Fine. I don't know what else to say. Does he mean the Twitter account or does he mean Keane himself?
It's Boring Keane.
Yeah. Okay. I've a feeling Boring Keane will still be around. I don't think he'll be on the missing list for long.
At Boring Keane Coleman says, there's a very obvious question, obviously, like, Cove has waited its whole history to become an overnight success, the barometer of sexy in the county. What are the sexiest things about Cove? And what do you think are the sexiest things about each other?
Award-winning content, lads.
Dickie, what's the sexiest thing about Cove?
The road out of there.
Do you know what's good about Cove, Dan? Every Sunday, they have a little fella in the little, what do they call that place where the flag's up? Little park. Whenever it's park, and they have a guy playing in the...
What do you mean little fella, no?
Is it a guy playing music, or the band? They have a band on there every Sunday, or every kind of bank holiday Monday kind of thing. And there's people sitting around, eating ice creams, listening to music. Cove isn't bad, be honest.
Jason Shanahan says, with Bray going to an AstroTurf, is Dickie concerned about the incidence levels of SAD that may rise in the first division, with half the division being played on Astro?
Before he answers that, how come King Coleman aside for Cove if he's got bad knees and can't play an Astro? Can someone answer me that question?
That's the question that was just basically answered there, like sudden Astro disorder. Remember that? Do you not remember what happened on the
Yeah, it's the first day back.
Yeah.
Lads, I needed an orientation handbook, like coming in to get all these acronyms and
sad
dodgy names and fake names and all this. Like, some of this is going way over.
It is interesting that Cian has signed for Cove, and as he said, Bray's gone to Cove, so half the division are now on Astro. Obviously, we were told last year that Cian has an issue with his knee playing on Astro, and that's why he couldn't play for Cork City down in Coleman's Park last year. So, I guess Cove would have done a stringent medical. He passed the medical. So maybe the SAD has passed. Sudden Astro disorder is no longer sudden. It's just, and it's no longer Astro disorder either. Maybe it was something completely else. Who knows?
Anyway, Wayne Ritchie says, any olive branches between the club and the pod? And when is Barry Panenka coffee coming on?
The war's over, Dan. The war's over. And I'm sure I got people at home can't see this, but this is why it's over. Multi-award winning podcast. So yeah, the war's over. As I said, this is extremely positive for us to this podcast, and that's what we're going to be. It's us against the rest of the league now. So are the club on board? Who cares? We do our thing, they do their own thing, and we just crack on and wind up the dubs a bit. You know, that's what it's about this season.
Yeah, we'll stick with you here. James Greenham says, how many millions is Cahill worth now? And how many dozen magic beans will we actually get for them? Also, as well, this is kind of what Dickie alluded to already. Also, how much protection will he need on the field and who's going to do it? So answer the first part. How many millions is Cahill worth?
I still think he's going to be the first £1 million League of Ireland player. Euro? Pound? You say pound because it'll be the UK. Yeah, look, he's going to find it tough this season, but that's down to the manager to make sure. Like, he's not 15, like. Do you know, he's 17 going on 18. I still think himself and Uma playing at 15 or early 16 was a bit too young, but now he's 17 going on 18, so crack on and do your business.
Dickie, who's going to be the one to protect him in the middle of the park?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? As I said, I think Rio Shipson might fill that role a little bit. Greg will obviously do it, but Greg will do it maybe not physically, but he'll do it by speaking to the referee or maybe, how do I put it? You know, Greg's probably not going to boot somebody up in the air, but he may well get inside
his influence.
Yeah, he may well get inside their head and maybe distract them and maybe make them focus their attention elsewhere and things like that. But look, at the end of the day, the referees are going to have to protect Cahill to a degree. He's an exceptional talent. I don't see us getting anywhere near £1 million for him because simply he would have to have 3 years of a contract left or something to get that. That's not the case. So I don't know what we'll get for him. Maybe $500,000 or something, 350. I don't know. It depends on the contract status, to be honest with you. But
and it's not even the length of it, Deck, really. It's more like what. Look, I have no earthly idea, just to be fully transparent. I was involved in some of his earlier contracts, but none of his recent ones, obviously. But yeah, like it all depends. Like, does he have bio clauses and whatnot? But it remains to be seen. I think it's when I hope you're right. To be honest, like he becomes the first like €1 million player or whatever, or breaks the record because I think he deserves that, like because he's got such great potential. But yeah, I don't know, Dex. There's so many factors that go into that, like timing. Like again, like if we lose the first couple of games and crowds are poor and we need to supplement whatever, and we need to like sell a player to whatever, and we take X amount because it satisfies Y in the budget, etc. There's so many factors that could come into what you sell a player for, unfortunately. But like, yeah, I hope you're right, Wayne.
I don't think he's in a rush, though, is he? Like,
so
you see the way he's signing contracts, whereas others don't. He might just say, look, another year. The longer he stays here, the more games he's getting, the more games against men's football.
Yeah,
so, like,
we saw that too, Wayne, like with Keats when he signed the contract and then we got relegated and he left, and there was stuff like that. So like, you just never know what's in these contracts. He could sign a 10-year deal and it could have a clause saying he could leave for 50 grand. Like that 10-year deal is worth nothing. Then at the end
Keats had to go. I think if Keats had his choice, he wasn't going. He would have stayed here, but.
Yeah, I know. Again, there's so much that goes into it.
That couldn't be facilitated, so he had to go.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, will stick with you. Does it matter that most of our new signings have been on loan, especially with Shipston only being until the summer?
Again, I'll go back to my previous point. Like, it really depends. I'd imagine some of them will be extended. This happens quite frequently. I know there's differences with the windows, and like if they stay with us, they're kind of locked in then until like end of October, and they can't play with their club then maybe till January or whatever. So, but I wouldn't be overly concerned about it as long as they're good players, to be brutally honest. Like if they're good players and they do well for us and they go back to their parent clubs being a success, that can only be a good thing for us in terms of points on the board and results. And again, we know the ones that are going back in the summer. So we have 5 months now to plan, have our backup plans and have our contingencies. And as has been said, there's a transfer committee now, and like all of this stuff is well known ahead of time. Even when they're signed originally, I know we're saying there's 5 months now, but some of these guys were signed in December and would have been having conversations since November. So Like, I just don't think that it should be an excuse, really. Like,
if these players go back, are they not allowed to play for like the under-20s? Like, a lot of these players aren't playing first team anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But can they play for their reserve, or what do you call it, the under-20 league in UK, England?
Like the PL2.
Yeah, like, are they eligible for that?
As far as I know, they can't. Okay. No, they have to. Like, if they stay with us after the summer, they're then stuck with us.
31st.
In theory, they're in this kind of limbo period where they can't play for their club, I think, till the 1st of January. Then when the next window opens, it's window to window, you see, for the loan agreements, I think. So, yeah, it's tricky enough.
Rio Shipston is out of contract in the summer.
It's a different situation, of course. Yeah,
he may well have other options in England come the summer. You just don't know. Like, again,
yeah,
he might have Shamrock Rovers and St. Pat's as options here if he does very, very well. So I mean, you
like, you could argue any transfer strategy is risky to some extent. Like, we've got a mix of youth, we've got great experience, I think. Anyway, I think we've got a nice mix of youth where we know we've got some super talented guys like Cahill, possibly Skeelers. We've got in the loans, I think some of them still have question marks, which I'm not trying to be pessimistic. Let's wait and see, because I don't really like to judge players in pre-season in Bishopstown, to be honest. So let's hope, cliche here, they're doing well in training and then they come out for the big day against Galway.
Minutes in the tank.
Yeah, minutes in the tank. There's so many questions. Probably going to have to pick and choose a small few, but I guess a consensus of questions that is coming in: squad depth. Decky, what position do you think you would add now at this stage? I don't think we probably will get anyone else in the door, but if you could, where do you think we should strengthen?
Right back. It's like, for me, it's the very obvious, and that's not being anti-Darragh Crowley in any way.
Well, that's why Kate was brought in there.
He's a right back as well.
Hang on. We've described Kate in our introduction as a midfielder stroke attacker. Preston and people in the Preston format have said he's played right back. So I don't know, unless, again, it's poor communication from us or what. I don't know. Maybe he plays right back. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. It seems a little bit up in the air. But I'm going by what we put out, which has him as a midfielder stroke attacking player, not a right back. Which, ironically enough, is probably where you would like to play Darragh Crowley if all things were equal. So, look, we'll have to see what way that works out as well, to be fair.
Sean says €10 for under-13s is just wrong. It's short-sighted, and we'll see a massive drop in numbers being brought along by parents. I have 3 kids, and instead of bringing all of them, I'll rotate them. Total opposite approach on how to grow a fan base when much of what we were talking about earlier. Now somebody's bringing one kid a week, a different week.
It's very Jose Mourinho. I like it. Squad rotation, but this is the thing. Like, it's like, if you have 3 kids and one of them likes football more than the other, are you going to bring that kid more often? I just don't get the kids thing. I'm not going over it again because it's been done to death at this stage. Fair enough, charge us 25 quid. I get it. All right, charging 25 quid for a 20-year-old, I'm not sure is good too. But charging a tenner for a child, they need to separate under 8s from under 13s, in my opinion. Because anyone under 8, they could need. Like, you could have to leave at half. I've had to leave at half time 3 times last year. It happens. They're kids. They want their Nintendo Switches or their PlayStations. I'm dragging him to a game to try and get him into it. Is it the right thing? It's probably bad fathering, to be honest with you. But look, I'm not going to be spending 25 quid of my money and a tenner and a £5 on chips and get him home late at night. Like, he has to be in bed at a certain time too. So I think, yeah, people are going to free from me for anyone under the age of 6 or 7. I think. I know we're not making money, but they're not going with this price structure. I think a lot of people aren't going to bring them. So that's sad that he's a dad. He has 3 kids and he can't bring all his 3 kids. That's a really sad situation. And a lot of people making decisions having kids that age, you know?
I think, Wayne, like, my response to that really is like that everyone has a different story. Like, we've all different types of families, makeups, families, different jobs, different things, whatever. Like, it's just, I just wish this wasn't a talking point like 2 weeks before the season starts yet again about tickets and whatever. Like, why can't it just be about the signings coming in, like new jerseys, we're back in the Premier, like, and again, today then I saw the post on Facebook and there's some pretty angry comments again on it. Like, I used to always do that as well when I was the chairman. Like, I'd take a look and see what the general sentiment is. You can't just dismiss. I know, again, as I said, it's in a vacuum and social media, etc. But like, you can't just dismiss it. You have to get a diverse kind of picture of what's going on out there. But I just think it's a bit too noisy. Again, it's like, I just wish we weren't talking about tickets.
Can I make
and
one
there's
last point?
questions
And I'll
being
stop
fired
then.
in.
When Dermot Rusher came onto our pod at the start of last season, 2 seasons ago, his whole point was get people who are on their own to games and he started supporting League of Ireland because of his kids, he stated. And now the club are pricing the same situation out. I just think, look, do the right thing. Whether it be next season, whatever, just do the right thing. Kids, cheap. Anyway, that's my final point.
Jackie?
I was just going to pick up on something Deck said. And there was a point made, I don't know when, was it the off season or sometime, but Dermot Usher basically, he said that most people are okay. It's only kind of like 20 people online who are continually giving out. And obviously this podcast. And that's simply not true. I think when you look on, like, I look online and I saw one of the city posts and there were 6 comments under it on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And I look at that and I always kind of put a value of maybe 100, 150 people on one Twitter post, especially on something like that. So to me, it was 6 posts. So it was like 800 people in general would be thinking the same way, giving out about €25 tickets or €18 tickets for OJ pensioners and teenagers, €10 tickets for kids. And my fear is that the club look at it and go, "Oh, it's only 6 people commenting," but it's not 6 people. As I said, to me, that represents 650, 800 people, who are thinking this way. It's just they don't all go online to express the view, but they are thinking that way. And as Deck says, when there's noise out there, you should listen and you should take it on board and you should think. But I think our way of doing things at the moment is just head down, batter down. The club is right, everybody else is wrong, and we just plow on, and I think, will Deck, one other thing, sorry, and I should, like, going back to this now again, but is there a danger that there would be some, what I would call, retaliatory pricing from other clubs at some stage? And that they would go, like, maybe Shamrock Rovers would go, well, you charged our fans 25 quid when they were in Turner's Cross, so now we're going to charge your fans 25 quid when they come to TOTAP.
Yeah, like I saw today from Galway fans, actually, because I think they put out a tweet that away fans could now buy tickets. Again, away fans, you have to go onto that website, scroll down, go through all the different duplicates of tickets that are available to find the away ones. Like, they were then saying Cork are charging us 25 quid. Like, I don't know if they even thought then that this was just because it was first game of the season and maybe Galway are going to bring a couple of hundred, hopefully, down to the Cross, and they think, like, Cork are seizing the opportunity here to price, to make a nice little chunk off the Galway visiting supporters. And other clubs will say the same, because I imagine other clubs that haven't gone into the depth of our individual match ticketing prices until they come time to face us and they're actually going to the game and coming down from Dublin and Sligo and Derry, and then they're seeing this. I think it'll come as a surprise to them, and they'll just see it again as newly promoted club increased their ticket price by a tenner. It was 15 quid when I saw last year or whatever, and they'll just think, what's going on here? And again, it'll just create unnecessary noise. And look, it's opposition fans again, and I suppose the old cliche again is you should ignore everything opposition fans say, but sadly, like, they'll make up, there'll be some games this year they make up somewhere between 15% of our total gate, and that's not to be snooded at or whatever, so yeah. To answer your question again, like, I'm learning, lads. I'm still in my somewhat Leo Varadkar mode where I'm giving you the politicians' answers, but yeah, no, like, but the risk is there, definitely. I'd have to look at the licensing agreement now again from my most recent one that I have to see if, like, they actually can do that. But you saw the fiasco. There were Bows and Rovers Shamrock, edit that out, please. A couple of years ago when they limited away tickets, and then they had to bring in licensing and to correct that and stop that behaviour happening. I don't know if there's anything in it on pricing. I don't think there is.
Right.
But yeah.
Ian Crowley says, is there much happening off-field with regards infrastructure, etc.? Didn't they get funding before Christmas for the cross? Mr. Chairman, do you have any insight here into this one?
What was that question?
Is there
again?
much
Sorry?
happening off the field with regards infrastructure to the cross?
Thankfully, I have absolutely no idea.
That's not good to us.
All I know of at the moment is infrastructure in my house in terms of what nappies the twins are wearing and what size they're moving up to next week and how we're going to organise getting them from A to B. Thankfully, I have no knowledge of the MFA, what they're doing with Turner's Cross, how their relationship is with Cork City as of this current moment. I had enough of that for 6 years and trying to navigate through that highly political, difficult landscape. That's my Varadkar type of answer there now for that. So read between
We should
the
have gone
lines.
for Dave Alton there, Decky. Come on, like.
I know. He might have been a bit more blunt instrument style of answer there, like, but yeah. Look, you'd hope that there will be improvements because I think we all look. I mean, we can see clear as day, like the cross is deteriorating in some areas, and like I really hope the club are working with the MFA now to kind of put the foot down and say, look, we are anchor tenants of this, of the tenants themselves, so to speak, like, and they should be doing a bit more work on it. Like some of the parts of the ground are just like aging terribly. They're the same as when I started going there, like 25 years ago. Like, so it's a bit it's a bit of a hopeful one, Dan, I would say, but I wouldn't hold my breath. The PA system again, like instead of bringing in that mobile temporary system, a longer 5-10 year outlook on that should be looked at. You go to away games again, and they're poor stadiums by all accounts. Like even poorer stadiums to look at and at a glance, like Galway's one, for example. But I remember being up there and I thought, geez, the PA system here is better than Turner's Cross. Like how? It just doesn't make any sense. Waterford, better than Turner's Cross. Rovers, Shamrock, miles better than Turner's Cross. Bows even. So yeah, hopefully the paying that cost we do to bring in speakers and all that stuff goes away. And yeah.
All right, last one on Twitter, at least in the public. Jack Kelleher says, how confident is every amigo from 1 to 10? We're under pressure for time, Wayne. As you know, Love Island is starting. So
I name him 4th or 5th place, and I would be content and happy. Not excited, I'd be content and happy. Because that's a minimum we should be going for every single year.
Mr. Chairman.
Is the question?
Well, he was how confident,
like,
I think.
Hope or realistic?
How confident is what it says.
I'm confident of 6th.
Wow. Okay.
I'd say the same. I'm 6th as well. I'd say 6th I'm confident of. I'm hoping for higher.
Yeah, I'm more confident now than I was at the end of last season, start of pre-season. Haven't seen them. I think 6th would be a good season. I think that would be fine. I don't think, having seen what I've seen against Waterford and Sligo, I don't think we'll be relegated. Deck has already made the point, when you have the firepower up top that we have, it should be enough to keep you out. But you don't want to be in a situation where you have to win games 6-3 every week, because that won't happen, So
there'll be some crowds at the crossover.
It would be
6-3 every 2 weeks.
Yeah, maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe it's all actually tying in, So yeah, look, I would still take 8th. I know Scotty hates that. I would take it.
Fuck me,
just don't be relegated. Don't be in, and then you want to push on. You want to move on next year, the season after. But yeah, 6th will be fine. I'm confident that we won't be relegated anyway. So that's about as good as you get from me at any stage.
I had zero confidence about 3 weeks ago. I thought we were destined for relegation. Now, yeah, I'm confident we'll stay up. When 8th. That's I think that's where we're at. I do believe that's where we're at. On the DMs, question for tomorrow night: rate this season's transfer window out of 10. Mr. Chairman, I'll go to you first.
This particular window, because Shawnee and Keats were done last summer, I'll probably go 6.
Win.
Go for 6.5.
Dickie.
I don't know, because I don't know how good the players are. Like, I'm going to say 5.5 just to be different from the two lads. Like, but it's very hard to tell. Benny Cooter looks a good player, to be fair to him. After that, we'll have to wait and see, to be honest.
Well, one came in on our DMs on Twitter. I was watching the new Tom Green documentary on Amazon, in brackets, Illegal Fire Stick, and was pleasantly surprised by a lad in a Cork City shirt. Biggest club in Ireland status confirmed. And there we go, lads. Who's Tom Green?
Is this Tom Green of Drew Barrymore having their honeymoon in Kinsale back in 2002 era?
You're very up to date.
Possibly. I'm gonna pretend I had audio issues and didn't hear the question about fire sticks and all that stuff. I
of
don't know
course.
what you're talking about. No, I can't. What's this? What's that?
I have no idea who Tom Green is. I saw the video, and yes, there's very clearly a lad in a Cork City jersey, and it looks great, but I have no idea who Tom Green is.
He's a comedian from America.
By the way, are we the biggest club in Ireland?
Not anymore.
Yes.
We were once upon a time. Are you saying that team from Dublin who wear hoops are not big, are not as big as us?
No, they're not.
Stop.
We won a trophy last year.
What a fantastic trophy it is.
We won a trophy last year.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Maybe thinking of that. Mr. Chairman, is Cork City the biggest club in Ireland?
It absolutely can be, Dan, but like my heart says yes, but my head says no. Like, we're just newly promoted and we spent two of the last, like, our last two trophies are two first division titles in the last 3 years. Like, it's not good.
They're not real trophies
overall. They are. I felt it in my hands when it was, we were proud to win it back then, and it was a great achievement, all things considered.
Do you know what you're like now? You're like the fella.
Yeah,
you're like the fella in Champions League final who loses it, right, and keeps his medal over his neck. That's what you're like now. Because I take mine off.
No way.
I give it to a fan. You just hold on to yours, and you're kissing it, and you're rubbing it, and you're sleeping with it, and you're happy with second place. But look, it's okay. Look, that's what you're into. Look.
Didn't you just flash a bronze award up on?
I did. Because it's like going to the Olympics, you know.
Right.
It's still a medal. Good point, though. Good point.
No, but I think Rovers, obviously their exploits in Europe and everything like that. I always kind of judge these questions then by people outside of Ireland, and it's just, Dundalk had it for a couple of years because they were getting to group stages, and Rovers are doing it now. It's just.
What's wrong
we need to get back to there.
Oh my God!
As quickly and as humanly possible.
Like,
what's wrong with you?
You just sat there 5 minutes ago, Wayne, and you said, fourth, we have to, I'm shit sick of this 8th thing, nobody should go for it.
Absolutely.
And you go, well, Shamrock Rovers are the biggest club in the country, really.
Because they are.
Fuck that! Okay. This is Cork City. What happened here? This is Cork City mentality. We're the biggest fucking club in the country, and Shamrock Rovers, and Dundalk, and Shelburne, and Drogheda, and fucking Limerick. They don't even exist anymore, but them anyway, Come on, this is Cork City, lad, and we are the biggest club in the country. And if you can't get on board with that thinking, what the fuck are you doing on this podcast? Like, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, your man's debut, and he's fucking talking about Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk being the biggest fucking clubs in the country.
I love this.
I didn't say that. I gave a head and a heart answer, and I think that to some reason put it in a much cleaner way. We're absolutely massive, is what the kids would say these days. All that,
With that kind of mentality, we'll win titles again. That's what every person in this football club needs to be. Inside the club, with that mentality.
Yeah. Well, is it there? Who knows? I don't know. But
it's going to start with this videographer role now, and it's going to seep through the rest of the club.
That's what we need.
I will not be the club videographer anyway, that's for sure.
Right. I think that's about it. Everything else on kind of the Twitter was
So even one question on Instagram.
Well, there was the one on the DM, like. Okay, there's 3. We go to Instagram now. A Hills says, lack of midfield options in my opinion. What formation? Decky, briefly, what formation do you think we'll be going with?
He's going to play 4-4-2 based on pre-season. Personally, I think we're made for 3-5-2. And I hope at some stage we end up with there. It keeps the 2 up top. It gives you the extra body in midfield. It gives you support to that right back area. you'd have a right wing back there, and there's a centre half inside. So I think we're actually tailor made for 3-5-2. But the problem is we probably don't have the necessary number of centre backs to play that.
Sorry, I know for rewinding there again, you had to pop off me over my anti-Cork City pro Shamrock Rovers rant, right? But did you not tell us that you think we'll finish 8th and you'd be happy with that? And you're effing and blind on all the dubs. Sorry, I know it was 10 minutes ago, but it's been bugging me for the last 10 minutes.
All right, okay. I said 8th is okay.
Yeah, and then you're going, fuck you, City.
Yeah. You can be the biggest club in the country and still finish 8th, like, you know.
No, bullshit.
No, you can't.
Of course
you
can't.
can't.
No.
Of course you
You
can.
absolutely can't.
Absolutely can. Of course you can.
Down with the dirt of the league, like no way.
I think you can.
For playoffs.
Everyone understands,
club in
right?
England.
Everyone understands that we can't win the league, right? That's not being biggest club in the world. That's just being realistic. But we should be aiming for Europe and see what happens. This aiming for 8th.
Scotty, there's a difference between being the best team on the pitch and being the biggest club. You know,
How are we the biggest?
We're not the best team, but in my mind, we're the biggest club. I'm not talking.
I would say we're close to being the biggest. I think we're closest to being the biggest club.
I'm interested in what my head thinks and what my
in
head tells me.
In 35 years, or how long? 40 years of this club, right? I think it was 19 times we finished in the top 4 places, and the top 3 12 times, and the top 2 was like 9 times. That proves we are a massive club in this country. But the problem is right now, our mentality from the fan base mostly is, let's just consolidate our year. Let's just see what happens. This is bullshit. You need to aim high, and high is not first place. That's just ridiculous. High is aim for Europe. If we hit 5th or 6th, do you know what? We'll take that, and next year we challenge. But to say we're the biggest club right now, I just can't see it. Like, we always were, but our mentality has taken us back years. The last 4 years has ridden us rock solid, as Rico used to say. And that's where we're at. But we have to be ambitious. And saying 8, 2 of you saying 8th place, Jesus Christ, like. 4th, yeah, we're not going to get 1st. I get that. But 4th, 5th, 6th, aim for it, like.
But hang on now. You're using I said 8th is okay because it means
it's
we're not
okay.
relegated.
It's never okay to finish 8th or 9th or 10th or 7th even. 6th, you're kind of pushing. 6th, okay, I'll take it because you know what? Okay. Fuck it, we've beaten 4 shit teams like Drogheda, Sligo, Waterford, who should never be anywhere near the top 6 anyway.
Okay. But how does that tie in then with your the best clubs in the country, the biggest clubs in the country?
The biggest clubs are us, Shamrock, Derry, and I would say that's the 3 biggest clubs in the country.
We are the biggest club in this country, and nobody will ever take me away from that point. And I actually struggle to believe or understand how you don't think the same way. Like, I genuinely do.
Here, I do think we're the top 3 biggest clubs in the country. Probably the top 2, I would say. But to suggest that Shamrock Rovers, who are getting 7,500 people a game,
Let's go rub Shamrock Rovers' bellies for them. We'll give them a nice tickle, tuck them in at night, help them sleep well. The same pricks who came down here and punched down on Richie Holland the last time they were in Turner's Cross.
That's what it's about.
The same
it's
time
hatred,
he came down
not logical.
and punched down in our club the last time they were here. But you want to rub their bellies? You want to tickle their toes? Have at it. Just don't expect me to join in.
You're using emotion to make a point. You're not using logic.
I'm using logic. We're the biggest club in the country. That's logic.
Fine. I'm not saying we're not. I'm just saying we're one of the biggest. Right now, I think mentality and structural wise, we're miles behind. Not in my head, but I think majority of people have that. Sorry, Dan, you want to talk. I'm getting annoyed now again.
I think we're the biggest club in the country. Luke O'Malley says, where will we be in November, on and off the pitch? Mr. Careman, we haven't heard from you in a while, so
yeah, I hope definitely just solidified our place in the Premier Division, had a positive season and a good cup run, something to excite the fans, keep the momentum going for the whole year. And I hope then come next November, it's all about then getting ready for 2026 and the signings are flowing in. We launched nice jerseys again. Season tickets and ticket strategies are communicated well in advance. There's no drama.
Yeah, we got done dirty as well by Howie earlier. Well, not on purpose, but we did.
Yeah.
We've been holding on to that leak for how long now?
2-3 weeks. 2-3
It's
weeks.
longer than
We
that,
saw the new
Jesus.
kit.
It's longer than that.
Church landmark here. Dar will, and we'll end it with this one. The last question: do you think we have enough squad depth? Wayne?
Well, I don't think it matters what if we have 7 players in a squad. According to Declan, we should be champions and the biggest club in the country. So, do you know what? Let's just go with what we have and let's the Champions League, biggest club in the
Can I
world.
just say, I already said there's a difference between the best team and the biggest club. I mean, the two are different things. You know, I mean, you can't explain it any better. Like, I mean,
what's the difference? We should be getting
I'll
Messi and
answer
Ronaldo.
the gentleman's question. I'll answer the gentleman's question.
Yeah, you do that.
You know, obviously Wayne is very happy with Shamrock Rovers squad and the depth that they have at the moment. So that's good news for them and for him. I think we have an issue with depth in a couple of spots. But look, I think the squad now that we have after signing, I think that's probably it. I don't think there's anybody else comes in. I think we're a striker short. I think we're a centre back short. I think we're a right back short. But look, it is what it is. Every squad in the league is going to have its own issues, and you hope you get a bit of luck with injuries and avoid them, and that those issues don't get exploited or get exploited for long periods of time in a season. I think we're done, so we just have to work with what we have. As I said, I'd love one more centre back because it would definitely allow us to play 3-5-2. And yeah,
all right.
I think we're the biggest club in the country. Let's go for 8. That's what I say anyway. You know.
I think next week we have to cover in the pod. Maybe it's a good question to ask: is what factors constitute qualifying as being the biggest club in the country? Do you consider when you think biggest club?
All I consider is what's happening.
I think we'll all.
I consider is what's happening in my head. That's all that matters. Like, it's
but what is telling your head about Cork City that makes it the biggest club in the country? This is a genuine question. No,
we are Cork City.
Big, huge catchment area in Munster. Like we have fans from Carey, fans from Tip, fans from Limerick. There's a huge area there. There's half a million. There's 500,000 in the county.
Still don't have enough.
Dublin is divided in what, 4?
We still complain about empty seats in Turner's Cross, and
there's only 4 words needed to explain why Cork City are the biggest club in the country. And this will be the last 4 words I will say on this podcast tonight. Right? 4 words to explain why we are the biggest club in the country. We are Cork City.
That concludes.
I've been saying that for months in the forum. I get it. I get it.
What a disaster to end on. Mr. Careman, how did you find your first episode of the Three Amigos?
Yeah, it was enlightening to say the least. It was amazing to see the facial expressions of Decky and Wayne. Compared to listening to them for the last 4 seasons, and never seeing their faces interact. And so that was probably one of the refreshing ones. But look, thanks for the welcome anyway, lads. It's been great. Good to get some stuff off my chest as well that I probably haven't openly talked about over the last few years. And it'll take me a while to get into the swing of things. You know, I'll move away from the politician answers hopefully in time. It's I've done too many cringy interviews now with 96 and Red and yourselves, and given the newspapers, the canon lines and the cliches, like, so I'll hopefully shake those off now in time. And yeah, after I listen back to this now, I will learn from it myself. So I'm learning from you guys anyway. I've been a fan of yours for the last couple of years.
Wayne, since Decky can no longer speak on this pod, you get the final say.
No, this is an hour and a half long. It's fairly long, but look, it's our first episode back. We're all a bit rusty, but I think it was positive. I think there was no kind of harshness. It was all just straight out. And
I think we all predicted decent positions in the league, and are positive about the squad.
We're the biggest club in the country,
and we are Cork City. We all learned that.
City. All right. There's only one thing left to say then.
Turned into
go on.
Turned into Triple H there at the end. He was like, "We are Cork City."
This podcast is going to go so many different ways with you on it, Declan. There'll be wrestling, there'll be hurling, there'll be the Zuzekis, Love Island.
Oh, yeah.
The possibilities are endless. All right. There's only one thing left to say, and I think we can lift Decky's embargo with this one. That is adios.
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 The next episode will be available very soon.